for Andy Robertson and Jan-Paul van Hecke. Squad numbers have been revealed. So as you can see, Jan-Paul van Hecke has been given the number 6 shirt, which, yeah, I mean, not exactly the biggest surprise because we were expecting him to get the number 6, but follows the big players of João Palhinha, Radu Dragusin, Nabil Bentelev, Davinson Sanchez. So big acts to follow.
Yeah, apart from Palhinha, we haven't had exactly the best players wearing that number. But yeah, I think clearly earlier in the win, we didn't announce their numbers because I think maybe out of respect to Palhinha, and also same with Robbo, with Dragusin, we're just waiting for them to leave, and then we're gonna, I mean, it's no surprise. It's no surprise Van Hecke has got number 6. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's a good number. I think it's him. Well, Senesi's got number 5. He's got number 6. So I'm guessing Van der Ven's probably going to stick with 37.
Yeah, 37 is a number close to his heart for various different reasons.
He's going to stay with that. He'll stay with that. So, yeah, I mean, good. Happy with it.
And Andy Robertson was given the number 3. Everyone was asking, why have you not taken the number 26, where he said in the interview, it's respect to Ledley King that I didn't request the number because Spurs haven't had a number 26 since Ledley King donned the shirt. So Spurs have kind of like unofficially retired that shirt number. He follows a long line of Radu Dragusin, Sergio Reguilon, Danny Rose, Gareth Bale, and Lee Young Pyo. So yeah, a bit of a better number 3.
Yeah, I think. Do you reckon he was told to say that, or
Probably.
Do you reckon he was told to say Ledley King? Because do you reckon he remembers? I mean, I'm trying to remember. Ledley King retired in 2012. I don't know if Robertson was even playing then, but he probably knew of him. Obviously very
there is no chance he knew of that situation, I think, before coming to Spurs.
Of course I knew 26 Ledley King. Of course I knew I couldn't take it.
I think it came to it to choose his number, and then before he even said anything, the club probably said to him, you know, nobody's had this number since Ledley King, and I know it's your favourite number. So he's like, all right, fine, I'll choose 3.
Fair enough. Yeah, and 3 is a pretty good number for a left back. So it's no surprise. I mean, Ben Davis must be looking and thinking, I've been here for 14 years and I've never been given the chance to get number 3. And you've come here, you know, and immediately you're given that number. But yeah, a good number for a left back, I think, number 3. Pretty happy with that.
As someone says in the comments, Savinho also wears number 26. So we'll have to wait and see what he takes.
Yeah. But let's see if he's got the balls to take it.
Yeah. The official World Cup Dream Team has come out, and a certain Pedro Porro has made the list. So the team is as follows. He got Vozinha in goal, Pedro Porro right back, Upamecano and Lisandro Martinez at centre-back, Cucurella the other flank, Rodri, Elise and Bellingham in midfield, with Messi, Mbappe and Erling Haaland in the forward line. I think I find it interesting that Lisandro Martinez instead of Cuti Romero, but there you have it. I thought both of them were pretty good, but I thought Romero was the better of the two. But yeah, big up to Pedro Porro, best right back at the World Cup.
Yeah, fully deserved. I thought he was phenomenal pretty much throughout the whole tournament. Came up with some massive moments in the one in the semi-final. And also that performance in the final, and was heavily involved in the goal. I just thought he was so consistent. It's mad that in the first game he didn't start for whatever reason. De La Fuente didn't start him in that first game, but I think what was so maybe surprising, especially when you look back at that France game and when he scored that goal, was I think I might have surprised a lot of people how he just locked down all their attacking options. They started, I think, with Barcola. And then he wasn't doing it. They went with Doué. He couldn't get any spare change. And Porro really showed in that game that he can defend against elite level opposition. And I think a lot of people have questioned that. Everyone knows, the goal we scored and that, everyone knows he's capable of that. But when he locked those players down, I think that was him showing the world. It's not just like average wingers I can contend. These are like elite level wingers who are tearing apart most of the other fullbacks at the competition, and yet they came against Porro and they came unstuck. So big up to him. What a tournament. I'm so happy he signed that contract.
Yeah, probably our best signing of the summer, getting him locked down to that contract. Because, you know, if they would have waited till after the World Cup, he probably could have demanded 200 grand more on the contract. And, you know, maybe some other clubs would be seriously going for him. But, you know, he's here. He's at Spurs to stay. And apparently he instructed his agent, no matter who comes in, I want to stay at Spurs under Roberto De Zerbi. So some loyalty shown there from Pedro Porro. There's been a picture that has come online regarding Dejan Kulusevski. Decky is back in training, people. They didn't focus on him, but if we make that picture bigger, you can see just in the distance there a certain ginger attacker for Tottenham Hotspur. So Dejan Kulusevski back in training, people. What are we saying about that?
Yeah, it's hard to know what exactly. I mean, it looks like he's in training, but is he off doing individual stuff? Is he with the team? Obviously, he's in the background with Van Hecker. It's hard to know exactly what the context of it. Obviously, he looks like he's on the grass. He looks like he's with the team, but I don't know if he's. You can be on the same pitch doing individual stuff like off in the distance kind of thing, while the other team are actually doing stuff. But he looks like he's with the team there. It's hard to know. It's hard to know, really, isn't it? What exactly we can take away from it. You would think people are saying
there's an echo.
You would think that if he was back training with the team, would the social media team have made a thing of it, or maybe they want to keep it under wraps? Obviously, we know he's not going on the tour, right? He's not on the.
No.
He's not. No, he's obviously. So, if he was fit enough to be training, you would think he'd be going like he'd be on the tour if he was that far along. So
yeah, what I think that is obviously Van Hecker came back later than everyone else that's there. I think it was just whilst Van Hecker was getting put through his paces for the fitness stuff before he actually gets on the pitch to do on the field training. I think it was just like fitness regimes and getting him up to speed in that sense. So I don't think Kulusevski is back in full-time training.
That's what I'm saying. So it's hard to get too excited. I think there's been moments in Decky's recovery where we're like, oh, it's happening. Oh, he's back in training. Look at this video. Look at that. And then it just goes quiet for a while. So I'll wait to hear proper updates about him training with the first team and all that kind of stuff before I get really excited about his return. Obviously, if we can get him back on the pitch, that changes so much for us in terms of our options in the forward line, how dangerous we are, the quality we have on the pitch as well. We're all so desperate to see him back on the pitch and to have the Decky, especially that we had, it's so long ago now. We're talking about the first half of the season in Ange's second season. That's when we last saw Decky at his very, very best, and that was in 2024. And we're now in 2026. So it was getting near to like 2 years ago that when we last saw Decky at his very best, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I know.
So obviously we're all desperate for it, and I'm sure he's more desperate than anyone. But let's see. Let's not put too much pressure on him. I know he's probably putting enough pressure on himself, but it's let's hope. It's encouraging. He's on the pitch at the very least.
Yeah, at least he's there. And we've seen him, playing basketball, doing some shooting drills as well. So hopefully it's just another step in his recovery. And George Sessions said that we could see him in the first half of the season. So still very vague, but he's saying that a potential return at some point during the first half of the season. What else? Yeah, so let's get into some transfer news. And let's start off talking about our Brazilian number 9, Richarlison, as Spurs Journal has said that Richarlison is now poised to remain at the club during the summer window. The Spurs player has expressed his desire to stay and wants to be a part of Tottenham's new project. So, I mean, we heard a week or so ago that Richarlison doesn't want to leave the club, and obviously it takes two to tango. It's all well and good Spurs accepting a bid, but Richarlison's got to accept to go wherever the bid is accepted. So we've had this situation pretty much every summer. I think for the last 2 summers, we've been open to him leaving. We've probably been open to accepting bids that have come in. But Richarlison has never been open to leaving. So I guess we're stuck in this situation again.
And to be fair, he was our top goal scorer last season with 11 goals. Again, I've never thought he's a bad player, but I just think it's time for him to go. It's time for us to move on from him, and we need to get an upgrade. And I don't really, just like with all our players, I don't care if they're here or not. I just don't want it to prevent us upgrading and get like I don't want us to use Richarlison staying as an excuse not to sign a striker. And I feel like we would have done that under Levy. We've done that in previous years, but we need to show we're acting differently. Look, if Richarlison says I'm putting my foot down and I am staying, fine, but don't use that as an excuse, Tottenham, to not go and sign Krupi or whoever it is you in your mind who you want in the forward line because Richarlison's saying he's staying. If Richarlison wants to stay and fight for his place and we sign a striker and he wants to battle it out with them, fine, I don't really care. I know people are losing their mind because they think, in their mind, they assume anyway, rightly or wrongly, they assume us Richarlison staying, and if that means if also Solanke stays, does that mean the striker's not going to be top or priority? And then look, I'm not going to rule that out, and there is a chance that has how Tottenham has acted previously. So I understand the frustration, but I'm not going to get frustrated with that kind of news until it's confirmed that we're not now getting a striker because we've got these 2 strikers. Then I would be frustrated. Then I would be annoyed.
Yeah, I mean, but it is a bit of concern, whatever way you want to slice it, because the other players that we've brought in is because we know that we're going to be selling some of the other players. Like Van Hecke came in because we know Romero is going to be leaving the club, right? If Richarlison and Solanke are both
still here, though, isn't he?
He is still here, but we know he's going to be leaving. But we know he's going to be leaving the club. If Richarlison is refusing to leave, then he's not going to be leaving the club.
If Romero ends up staying, does Van Hecke go back to Brighton?
But he's not going to end up staying.
Or he might do. Who knows what happens? Maybe I don't know. You never know in football. I think he'll leave as well. I agree. But what did we do? Did we not sign Van Hecke just in case Romero doesn't go? We didn't do that.
We signed him because we knew he's leaving.
It doesn't matter. He's not. But hasn't gone yet, has he?
No, but the plan was to move him on, right?
Yeah.
The plan might change now from Richarlison not wanting to leave, so there's no plan to move him on.
Well, it shouldn't, is my point.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Like,
if it does change, then I have an issue with it. If it does change the plan about what we do in the forward line because Richarlison decides himself he's staying, then I have an issue with it. If Richarlison wants to risk either being in the reserves or being on the bench or being left out of squads because he wants to stay, I don't really care. But as long as we sign a striker, I'm not bothered. But I agree. It could potentially be frustrating.
If Richarlison is refusing to leave, then I would go and sell Solanke. That's what I would do. If Solanke's open to leaving, there were rumours that he had a deal sewn up with a Saudi Arabian club before our safety was secure. Let Solanke leave if that's the case. I know a certain manager in Saudi that would love to take him.
Sell either of them, but I don't care who we sell. Just to sign a striker. That's my main thing. Keep both of them, but sign a striker. I don't care. As long as that's my main thing. I want to see Tottenham signing a striker, and I don't think we should be using Solanke or Richarlison staying or going as any excuse to not upgrade in that position.
Yeah,
that is my point. And as I've said in previous windows, we have used it as excuses. And this window, it seemed as though we stopped doing that. As I say, Van Hecke we signed. The midfielders, we didn't wait to sell Bergvall and Sarr before signing, Tonali and Fernandez. As much as we, expect to sell, want to sell, we didn't wait, did we? So we shouldn't wait this time. And we should be open to offers and we should be looked to sell them. But if we can't sell them, we should have their upgrade already through the door. Shouldn't matter.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, that's how we should be acting. It's just a case of, will we do that in the forward line if there's no kind of interest or want for these players to leave.
But we've done it in the other positions. Why shouldn't we do it in the forward line?
Because in the midfield, Lucas Bergvall is obviously wanting to leave, and there's heavy interest in him, and there's offers coming in for him. Different situations in different positions. If Solanke and Richarlison both are saying they don't want to leave, and they refuse to leave, then it's a different situation than what it was in the defence and the midfield.
Yeah, potentially, but I don't think it should change. It shouldn't change for me how Tottenham act. We shouldn't be dictated. Our transfer policy shouldn't be dictated by players sticking their feet in the ground. We should be the masters of our own destiny.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. But I hope that's the case. I hope. I'm just a bit concerned about it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and you're right to be, because history says that has affected how we do things. That is true. But then history says we wouldn't have done what we've done before, which we wouldn't have previously. We wouldn't have signed Van Hecker before we got Romero out the door and stuff like that. That's also how we would have done previously.
Yeah, like I said, different situations, but let's hope it's the same outcome.
I'm comparing it to how we would have done it before.
Yeah. Look, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let's hope we do still bring in a striker. I'm desperate for one. Let's talk about Cuti Romero. A lot going on with Romero right now. Longari broke the news saying there has been promising talks between Inter and Tottenham, with indications that a deal could potentially be done on a more favourable term than Spurs' initial €50 million asking price. It won't be an easy deal to complete, but Inter are prepared to seriously pursue Romero, as he is a player they are fully convinced by. Barcelona are also aware of the situation, but they would first need to sell a centre-back as Ronald Araujo before making a move. And then Romero, Intertrack heating up as images of Ciro Palermo, who is the agent of Cuti Romero, in Milan with the entourage Vincent Casella. The negotiations with Inter are heating up, as revealed on July the 1st. The club is trying to progress with Tottenham. Inter's director Piero Orzilio returned to Milan yesterday to do negotiations. Fabrizio Romano says that he understands Inter had an initial direct contact with Romero's camp. Talks taking place on both club and players' side. Expensive and not easy, but Inter are trying with the negotiations ongoing. He also went on to say that it's 200% confirmed now that Inter is negotiation for Cuti Romero. Guaranteed. Inter has already spoke to Tottenham contacts. The contacts have started. And they have not only spoken with them, but also with Romero's representatives. Inter are now working on the financial side of a deal. The salary and the transfer fee is not done, but Inter are actively working on it. And Himothy says that he understands that Inter have made progress in their pursuit of Cuti Romero. Club talks are progressing, and there are no issues on personal terms. Romero prefers Barcelona, but some believe that their interest is agent-driven, as they have many centre-backs at the club right now. Very interesting, because the financials of this deal is obviously going to be big for Inter Milan. They're talking about, 40 million, 45 million euros that they could potentially land on. And also, Cuti Romero is obviously the highest paid player at the club at around 200 grand a week or something like that. And is that something Inter are prepared to go to, or is Romero going to have to take a pay cut?
Romero ain't taking no pay cut. I'm pretty sure about that. So I don't know what the wages are like in Serie A, but I don't know what their highest player that they've got there. I don't know, is Lautaro on something similar? I don't know. Out there in Inter,
Lautaro is 120 grand more than Romero.
So I think wages shouldn't be that much of an issue then. If Lautaro's on that much.
They've got players, Calhanoglu, Barella, around the same amount as Romero, Bastoni about the same amount. Yeah, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue.
That shouldn't be too much. It's just the fee, as we mentioned before, Serie A clubs, it's difficult for them. But
£35 million is something that they've been to under this ownership, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue.
I think we asked for more than that. I don't think I think it's more £45 million than euros. I'll be shocked if it's €45 million. But hey, it might well be at this point.
Well, apparently the asking price is €50 million, and there's going to be some sort of meat around it.
Yeah, let's see what they land on. Obviously, it's not a price I don't think Tottenham want to sell at, but at the end of the day, I think they just want this over and done with at this point. They don't want to drag on for too much longer. Although we've got our replacement, so why does it really matter how long it drags on for at this point? But um, yeah, I think Inter Milan would be a really good move for him. I think he'd fit right in there. I have just seen a report from Matteo Moretto. He's saying that Barca are in contact with Romero's entourage. So that's quite interesting.
Apparently, that deal is very much linked to them selling Ronald Araujo. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if Atleti don't come back in for him. We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see if there's any development there, but we haven't heard anything about that. Yeah, I mean, it just would. I mean, look, Inter are a very good team. They've been recently in Champions League final. They're competing for Serie A every single season. Um, I don't know if he envisaged going to Inter as the big move, probably that he was looking for. Though, but you got to say, going to Milan, big city, they are a big team out in Italy. You wouldn't call it a downgrade, would you? So it is a good move for him, and I think the way they play their back three would be very suited to Romero. They play a very aggressive back three. Their centre backs given a lot of license to get forward and stuff. So I think Romero would absolutely love that. I think it would be a good move. If they put the money on, yeah, I can see it happening. But let's see if they put the money out.
Yeah, look, it's a step up in his career at the end of the day. Going from what we bought him from Genoa, then him, was it Genoa? It was Genoa, wasn't it?
No, we bought him from Atalanta.
Atalanta, that's it. Atalanta to Tottenham to Inter Milan. You know, it produced a step up every in his career trajectory.
Well, he was at Juve at one point.
Yeah, but he never really saw many minutes at Juve, didn't he?
No, he didn't. But I'm just saying he was at that club.
Yeah. So obviously, I think, look, Inter are bigger than Juve at this moment in time, or a better team than Juve at this moment in time. So,
Yeah.
Inter are probably the best team in Serie A. They are.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very good move for him. If Barcelona do come in and they're serious about it, then I think he'll jump at the chance to go to Barcelona. We all know he wants to go to Spain. So let's hope that, you know, your hopes of Atletico Madrid coming in come to fruition, and Barcelona come in as well, because then that can, you know, give a bit of a bidding war, and then maybe we will get the fee that we want.
Yeah, exactly. I think the chances of getting the fee that we should be getting, which is around, for me, we should be getting, considering the prices that have been banded about this window, we should be getting 70 million, but that's not going to happen, is it? So I think we have to kiss goodbye any chance of us getting a fee that we should be really getting for a player of his talent, in my opinion. So we're going to have to make a compromise, but I think £35 million is ridiculous, in my opinion, if we're considering selling for that.
It is ridiculous. When we're getting 20 million for Will Lancashire, 35 million for Romero is absolutely nuts. But I guess it's just more money added to the coffers. It's not like we're short on money bringing in from players that we've brought in this summer. So if he goes for that much, he goes for that much as a ridiculous price it is. So it's not going to make too much of a difference, I guess.